Ladies and gentlemen, our referee has called a stop to this contest, declaring the winner by knockout and new MMA show! Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to another exciting round of and new MMA show. I am your host, Michael Hansen, and I do all kinds of powerful things with microphones because I'm a ring announcer and cage announcer, and I am joined this week, as I always am, by my two co-hosts, both of whom bring MMA punditry to new heights. Introducing first, in New York right now, he is Mark Priaulx. What's up, buddy?
Europe. Hit him with the New York hello one time.
Jesus Christ.
What's up? Yeah, a little bit under the weather. I mean, I feel fine, but I have blown my nose about 500 times today, so I'm going to try to limit that for the viewing experience of the viewers tonight, but I may have to do a couple mutes over here and grab a tissue. But otherwise, I'm ready to go. I was away the whole weekend, so I missed everything, and I had to do some fucking frantic catch-up on UFC and Bellator worth of fights, but I have caught up, so ready to do the thing.
Nice. Away for a good reason?
Yeah, just me and the family took a little 3-day
weekend
down to like Philly for a day. We hit Sesame Place, hit some other shit. It was nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Introducing now, in Florida right now, the Sunshine State. He is the Sunshine Kid, the Nicaraguan Nightmare.
Sunshine Kid.
The leg kick monster, Omar Artola. That was a bad one, that last one.
You know, I'm not opposed to just throwing out random nicknames every week and see what sticks. You know, it's not bad. Sunshine Kid doesn't accurately describe me, but, like, I don't hate it either.
Is that hair much shorter than it has been?
Or is it just gelled?
My wife made me do my hair.
Oh, it's just gelled. Okay.
She styled it.
After I took a shower, she was like, you better put something in your hair. Don't go on there like that.
Aw.
So, there it goes.
Francesca,
My wife's a
she's looking out for
hairstylist,
you.
so she's not having it. There's no room for error here. Yeah, doing good. My left leg is jacked for a new reason. The meat of my thigh has been abused by one good leg kick, and I'll be fine by tomorrow, I think. Maybe Friday.
You think? Are you taking anything?
Life, Mike.
No, I mean, are you taking any
life.
ibuprofen or
No,
reduce
I
some
don't do
swelling? You don't do that.
Mm-mm.
You're just against it, ibuprofen.
I don't want to take shit unless I really, really have to. I think I'll be fine. Throw some Thai oil on that bitch. Be all right.
Yeah, I guess. Dude, I had a headache today. I took a few ibuprofen.
Yeah, nah.
I know, it's not great for your liver.
Yeah.
Mark,
Yeah.
what about you? Do you take medicine? OTC?
Medicine.
I try to never take anything ever.
Really? Do you get headaches? What do you guys do for headaches?
Fucking eat it.
After I play basketball and I'm like very sore the next day, I'll pop in a leave sometimes. But that's about the only thing I ever take.
What
not me.
do you do when you get a headache? You just
Drink
wait
water usually.
until it's over. What makes your headache go away is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll drink some
guess-
water.
Yeah, I try to drink a lot of water. I guess if it's very bad, sometimes I'll take something. Yeah, sorry, I was like half listening. I didn't know you were saying like simple medicines like that.
Honestly,
Yeah,
even that I don't really take either. Like I can't say I haven't taken it for like a really bad. Like I've had maybe one or two like real bad migraines I think in my life, and I've taken something. I basically couldn't open my eyes. Like the shit was so bad. I took something for that. But like for a headache that just happens and just comes up, I'll just deal with it.
Wow, I couldn't. I'm like, why deal with it? It's like we have these things called pharmacies that sell ibuprofen.
I feel you. I think
Tylenol,
it's the dependency that I think for me would be easy to get into, especially if it does fix everything. And I unless it's necessary for me, like I really can't stand something, probably just not going to take anything.
Oh, I had a terrible headache today. Like I said, and my sister-in-law also is like swears off all over-the-counter medicines. No Tylenol, no ibuprofen, nothing. And I was like, I asked her the same thing. I was like, what do you do if you get a headache? She's like, just take a nap and lay down and drink some water. I'm like, that is misery to me. Anyway, let's talk some MMA. Some exciting things going on for my part in
World
about a
blew
month.
up, though, today.
What's that?
So the whole world blew up today. We'll get to it though.
Yeah.
I don't think
the
that's
whole
the
MMA
right
world.
terminology to use right now.
Right now,
So
it's a little insensitive.
Well, I guess there might be some more things that are a little bit.
the MMA world
MMA
had a lot
world.
going on today.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's not.
Especially for the UFC.
Yeah.
Things are going well for the Anthony Pettis Fighting Championship in about a month and a half. There will be some very huge special guests at APFC 9 in Milwaukee. It was announced just yesterday. There's going to be Quinton Rampage Jackson will be in attendance. We're going to have former UFC heavyweight world champion and legend Frank Mir on the commentary table doing color. And also as a special guest, a good friend to Anthony Pettis, it seems, is one of the most popular magicians in the world. Criss Angel is going to be in attendance. So that's fucking cool.
Yeah, dude. I saw one of his shows in Vegas. I used to watch Mind Freak when
Yeah.
I was in high school, religiously. It's the only thing I went on A&E to watch.
And I perhaps forgot the biggest name is the special guest is
I was
going
just
to
sitting
be
here. I was like, did he
none
say it?
other
And I didn't hear him say it.
none other than Nate Diaz. So we'll see. We'll see if Nate is gonna go into the cage with Anthony the way that Cain Velasquez did and John Jones did the last couple times. So I have a feeling that if anybody would not want to do that, it might be Nate Diaz. But I'm gonna write a little intro for him just in case, which is gonna be crazy. Anyway.
Dude, you are just crossing off the list of greats who you are meeting these days. Rampage, Mir, and Nate in one night is fucking wild.
Yeah, man. Yeah. All right, boys. Well, let's do what we love to do on this show, and that is talk some MMA. We have some fun stuff to talk about this week. We're going to talk about all of the fights from this past weekend's awesome UFC Fight Night card, Dawson versus Green. We're going to throw a few of these bouts into our lightning round. We're going to find out who rose and who fell in Mark's own rankings that he meticulously maintains, that we call affectionately the Priaulx Rankings. We're also going to recap some of the big fights from this past weekend's Bellator 300, a milestone event for Bellator. We're going to dive headfirst inside the MMA sphere with Omar Artola over there down in the Sunshine State. Find out what's going on in the world of MMA outside of the cages, in the headlines and news. And then we are going to look ahead to this coming weekend's awesome UFC Fight Night card, Yusuff versus Barboza. Man, oh man, 2 weekends in a row of very nice UFC Fight Night cards. I love this. And then we might end with a little bit of trivia. But guys, before we get into any fight talk, let's first thank our audience. Hey, if you're watching this right now on YouTube, thank you so much. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. If you've been watching a few of our videos and clips and you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing if you've been liking what you've been watching. It helps us out so much, and you'll never miss a video. Hit the bell icon so that you get notified every time we have a new drop. Hit the thumbs up, give us a like. It's free to you, costs you nothing, helps us out so much on the channel. But our favorite form of engagement is down in the comments below. If you like any of our takes, let us know. Give us a shout out. If you don't like any of our takes, if you disagree with any of our takes, we want to hear your take down in the comments below. We respond to just about every comment. We love that thoughtful back and forth dialogue about our favorite sport. And by we, I mean mostly Mark. So if you want to come at us, just so you know, Mark's going to go right back at you. Just fair warning.
Dude, yeah, the guy on our Usman preview hit us with laughing face, and I was like, "What you laughing about, guy? Nothing." Radio silence. At least let us know what you're trying to clown us on. And then someone else wrote that Usman's weakness was food. And I was like, are
I
you
saw
thinking of the
that.
wrong
So
fighter?
weird.
Like, who do you think you're talking about? Like, I don't think he's ever even missed weight.
Yeah.
I just decided to ignore that one. I saw.
Yeah.
Let me finish this. If you guys want audio only, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, we're on social media. Find us in all the relevant places at @&new_MMA show. With that being said, let us now dive into this episode. This week, guys, the name on the marquee has got to be Bobby King Green, who this past weekend, Saturday, October 7th, at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada, in the main event of UFC Fight Night, defeated Grant Dawson by knockout. The official time, get this, 33 seconds of the very first round. Oh my goodness, what an exclamation point from Bobby Green. Mark, start us off here. Give us your take on this very impressive, very quick fight from Bobby Green.
Bobby King Green. So happy for this man. He finally gets his main event spot, and he delivers in spades. Could not have scripted it any better. Huge underdog going in, fighting a guy who's undefeated in the UFC, has one loss in his whole career, and he puts him out in a matter of seconds. I mean, it was beautiful. It was typical Bobby Green. His movement, the fluidity of his stance, the hands-down approach, it kind of all came together in this one shot where he had kind of just changed stances. It was a short, straight left that put Grant Dawson down. The follow-up obviously put him out, and Bobby Green has the biggest performance of his entire, I don't know if storied is the right word. That's what I was going to say, but certainly long career. Definitely a bitter pill to swallow for Grant Dawson. He was getting his push. He had made it to the main event scene. Obviously, he was the big favorite going into the fight. He's the guy getting hyped. I'm sure he feels like if he got to run that back, it could go much differently, and that he just got caught. And he may not be wrong, but that's why MMA is the best sport in the world, because you can get that type of matchup, and Bobby Green can step in there and do what he did. So that was fantastic. I do wish he called out Max Holloway. He was talking about fighting him pre-fight, about the idea of having Max come up to 155 and just see who's the better boxer. And I wish he threw it out there, because he had a huge moment on the mic. And if he was ever going to call out a big name like that, who maybe he shouldn't necessarily be fighting, that was the moment to do it. So I wish he did. I know that sounds like a mismatch name-wise, but to see those two box would be fantastic. But he didn't. But either way, huge night for Bobby Green, and I'm excited to see where he goes from here.
Omar, Bobby Green hands Grant Dawson only the second loss of his career, the second knockout of his career, which is also only the second loss of his entire career. What do you make of this emphatic win by Bobby King Green?
I thought it was obviously a great performance from Bobby Green. I don't really know how much I want to take away from it from the Grant Dawson side, right? There wasn't really that much of a fight. It was very quick. Grant Dawson got caught. To Bobby Green's credit, the switching of the stances, making that lead hand his rear hand, and then shooting it off completely, putting a little bit more power and hip movement behind it. It didn't really look like much on camera, but it caught him right in the chin, and it was a rear hand by the time it threw. It was no longer the jab hand. So it was beautifully done by Bobby Green. It really was. But there wasn't a lot of fight there, right? So it's difficult to know what to make of it from the Grant Dawson perspective. There are things about that, the way he reacted to the punch and sort of the turtling immediately and things like that. Maybe the punch was worse than even it seemed, even to me. But I guess I expected a little bit more fight back. You know what I mean? A little bit more struggle from Grant Dawson. Mm-hmm. But he turtled up relatively quickly right after that shot. So it must have been a solid one from Bobby Green. He does, 4-ounce gloves make a difference. So, yeah, great performance from Bobby Green. Really excited to see where he goes from here. He's got some really good momentum in this later half of his career.
When Bobby Green puts it all together, and when his stand-up is shining, he looks like he could beat anybody at lightweight, or he could at least hang and be in there with anybody.
Yeah.
And he's exciting, man. He's like us, like a dark horse for like the division's most exciting guy.
Yeah.
Dude, we say this all the time about him, but his record could be so much different. Like, I'm just scrolling back through it now. Obviously, Dober and Islam beat him truly and cleanly. But Fiziev was a close competitive fight. Moises, I thought he beat, and that's a loss on his record. Trinaldo, I remember, I think I thought he, or at least that one was very close. Shakar close, I remember thinking he might have won that fight. Like, there's a lot of losses on this man's record that could have very easily been wins. So he has always been able to hang with these guys. He just, I think, it might have been DC said this on the broadcast, like that he always gets these chances where it's like we could finally have the Bobby Green breakthrough, and it just, for one reason or another, it doesn't happen, and it finally did.
Right. Yeah. Let's talk about where Bobby Green goes from here potentially. Mark, you alluded to the fact that he missed a potential great shot, call out of Max Holloway in the cage, although I think Max might have some plans now that everything is in flux.
Oh, does he? I don't know this. What does he have?
Omar,
can we share this? Does it have to wait for the sphere?
Does he have something? Do I have something?
Oh, Mike knows breaking news.
All
What
of
is
the
it?
mix-up. I saw it on the internet.
Oh,
So
but we
must
talked
be
about this a while ago, actually. Yeah, he's with Josh Emmett for Orlando in UFC.
What?
What?
Max Holloway.
He's with Josh Emmett?
Fighting Josh
He's
Emmett?
fighting Josh Emmett for UFC Orlando.
When did that get announced? That's gross.
I saw
September 13th. Or around that time.
No, I saw.
No,
because
dude, he doesn't have a fight booked. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, here we go. Because of the reshuffle, because Volk is fighting Islam now, Volk was going to be fighting.
Oh, Topuria?
So now
Yeah.
Max is fighting Topuria for the interim belt.
No,
Oh,
that's only if
that's-
Volk loses.
That's only if
That's what-
Volk loses?
That's what broke today. Yeah.
Oh, that's only if Volk loses? I thought that
If-
was made.
Well, that doesn't make
So
any
what
sense.
what Ariel broke today was that what he's hearing is that the plan will be if Volk wins and is relatively unhurt, he will still fight Topuria. But that if Volk loses, then Topuria will fight Max for an interim title.
Oh, my bad. I thought that was like announced in like the new plan because everything's getting reshuffled.
Yeah. But that did break today, so I wasn't really factoring that into the fact that over the weekend I was hoping for the Max call out. But yes. But anyway, to go back and answer your question that you were posing there, dream fight talk aside, the more realistic one that I also love, that I keep seeing thrown out, and I've even heard Bobby Green mention now, is the idea of fighting Dan Hooker. And I think that is a fantastic fight in and of itself, and another one I'd love to see. And Hooker, I believe, actually commented on it as well and said he's interested, so sign me up for that one.
Omar, any other ideas for Bobby King?
No, I would agree. Dan Hooker was talking about it. He was talking about doing it in December. Or I guess they were talking about doing it in December, which would be a relatively quick turnaround, which I love, and get one in before the year's end.
Real quick, I know just from glancing at it, obviously he fought Makhachev, who's all the way up at the top with the belt. I know that Bobby Green fought and lost to Poirier. I'm trying to look at the rankings for lightweight. Who else has he fought at lightweight in the rankings?
It's in the top.
That's in the
Fiziev.
rankings. So he lost to Fiziev.
That would be it
That's right.
Yeah.
in terms of ranked
Oh, he
fighters.
fought Dober. He lost to Dober.
Dober's not ranked, though.
Oh, he's still not ranked?
No.
No.
God, I love fucking Drew Dober.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I mean, Bobby Green, like I was alluding to before, such a great matchup for so many guys. And aside from 3 guys in the top 15, there's a lot of potential matchups for him
Yep.
now that he's kind of cracked into more and more sort of a primetime spot here. Let's talk quickly about Grant Dawson. As I said before, Bobby Green hands him only the second loss of his entire career. His record now falls to an abysmal 20-2. Omar, what do you think could be next for Grant Dawson?
I mean, so I think the UFC has him officially now at 15, so he's still within that top 15. So it wouldn't. I would still want to see him fight somebody in the top 15. The problem is they have Bobby Green ranked at number 13. So short of giving him Matt Frivola, I think again, right? Because they've already fought, I believe.
They haven't fought, but Frivola's booked against Benoit Saint-Denis.
Which wouldn't be, you know what? Let's go with that. The win, maybe the loser of Frivola and Saint-Denis. Probably a good fight.
Okay. I like it. I like it.
Yeah,
Anything
similar
else you
vein
guys-
for me.
yeah.
I think that you put him back in there against another dangerous guy. You know, like as good as his record
Totally.
is, if you put the Ismagulov win aside, there's not a ton of big names on there as great as Dawson has looked. So I think you get him in there against another dangerous high level dude and kind of try to see what we do have in Grant Dawson after he fell so flat in this one. So I am going to go with Jalen Turner for that reason.
Okay. Let's move on to the co-main event of this past UFC fight night in the middleweight division. A scrap between Joe Pyfer and Abdul Razak Alhassan, and Joe Pyfer comes out the victor, finishing Alhassan in the second round. The official time 2:05 of round number 2. Omar, start us off. Joe Pyfer looked big, got the big win. What are your thoughts in the aftermath?
Joe Pyfer looked gigantic. Absolutely gigantic in there. Alhassan did his best, I think, to try to manage the distance and manage the striking as much as he could, because I think that was really the area that he had the most, obviously, the most success in when it comes to winning that fight. I was listening to an interview that he was giving with Kenny Florian and John Anik, and he was talking about how Alhassan got him with a couple good calf kicks that had him a little fucked up, and he was like, I was trying to knock him out, but he got me with a few of those kicks, and I was like, fuck this, and he went for a takedown and, you know, did what he knew he could do, which obviously leads me to believe he was probably playing with his food at that point, right? Trying to do something that he didn't necessarily need to do, not necessarily taking the easiest route to victory from the beginning of the fight, trying to show off a little bit. And I'm just concerned that that's something later on in his career, as he's trying to rise up the ladder, that he's going to fuck around and find out. You know what I mean? But it sounds like 185 might be a good place for him just because he seems to be a much bigger guy. He says he has trouble making 185, so I don't think we'll see him there for long. At some point, he's probably going to be he's probably going to be a 205 pounder, probably in the near future, I would imagine. But he says he basically dies to get to 185.
That definitely takes away a little bit of what makes him so interesting as a middleweight. It's just the size and strength that he has, and at 205, that's a bit more ordinary.
Yeah. His skill, though, especially his wrestling specifically and his jiu-jitsu, I think that does separate him even at light heavyweight.
Oh, yeah. I'm just saying one of his current advantages sort of goes away a bit. But no, he's good. Were you done? I'll just take it from here.
Oh, yeah, you're good. Yeah.
Hop in, man.
But yeah, he's a scary man. His athletic and natural gifts are many, and I'm not sure that he won't get exposed technique-wise at a certain point. I don't know yet how buttoned up I feel that his technique is. I don't feel like he's had the appropriate matchups for us to 100% be able to make that read. But either way, it's starting to feel like it may take some top guys to be able to expose that, because he is looking like the real deal, like a dangerous fighter who will walk you down and can finish you in a lot of ways. And that's what he did here. He showed off the hands. You know, Alhassan wasn't having an easy time on the feet at all. He couldn't get off. He even said it in his corner that he felt like he couldn't get off. And then as soon as he started landing the calf kicks, you saw Pyfer was able to just go to the wrestling, and the takedown that finished it was an enormous slam, and then he just seamlessly moves into the arm triangle choke, and he puts Alhassan out. So that's a hell of a statement from him in a big co-main event spot with the spotlight on him. He maximizes the mic time as well. Big night for Joe Pyfer.
Absolutely, man. I mean, the height disparity between him and Alhassan, I think, played a role, like optically, into him looking like such a huge middleweight. I know he's listed at only 6'1", So there are other middleweights that are absolutely going to sort of be eye to eye with him. But he looks like a giant 6'1". He's a giant jacked man. And he's got a lot of skills, man. And he put it all together against Alhassan. In the first round, I think he was definitely getting the better of the hands. In the second round, Alhassan was starting to mount a little bit of a comeback, starting to build his own momentum. And Pyfer was like, all right, I'm going to take you down. And he took him right down, like you said, with a huge slam, right into the submission. Very, very impressive stuff across the board from Yusuff, body bags, Pyfer. With that being said, now he improves to 12-2 as a pro. Only one of his wins has gone to the scorecards, and that was very early in his career when he fought one time for CES in the Northeast. He's a finisher, guys. Omar, what would you do next at middleweight with Joe Pyfer?
Where are we putting this man when it comes to the rankings? Mark, what do you have in the rankings now?
I shall share with you. I have him at number 23.
Oh, damn.
He's knocking on the door. He's knocking on the door.
Yeah, the Mearshart win, that's a pretty quality win.
Yeah.
That kind of jumps you past that middle of the pack at middleweight.
For sure.
I mean, do we want to keep moving him up? Do we want to give him somebody like Fluffy, who I feel like because Fluffy just pulled out of something, so he's not booked currently.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, because Joe, and he also said, I did remember from this interview that he's not fighting until 2024. He's not cutting all that weight again before the end of the year. So
Pyfer said that?
Yeah. So we could see Fluffy and Pyfer fight in early 2024.
I hope Fluffy gets a ranked opponent. I feel like he's already earned that.
Yeah.
But it could happen, and it's not a bad fight. But I'll go, I guess, similar guy in a similar area. I think he actually just lost to Fluffy. Now that I'm thinking about it, but I'll go with Edmund Shabazian. I do think that you could argue Pyfer already deserves a ranked opponent, but I'm gonna go one more before pulling that trigger, and I think Edmund is a guy who could maybe show us a little more of what happens when he's in there with someone with some higher level technique.
It's a great matchup. I do agree. I think that I want to see Anthony Hernandez get a big shot.
Yeah,
because he's so good. Oh my God, Joe Pyfer, to me, he strikes me as more of you're kind of and I don't mean this as any kind of detraction, more of a typical middleweight. Like middleweight to me is the weight class where you start to see guys as big dudes who throw bombs, and Anthony Hernandez to me is a very interesting middleweight because I don't conceptually think of him as a middleweight. To me, he fights almost like a welterweight.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I agree,
know what I mean?
Actually. Yeah.
I get that.
He's more skill. Like he's not like a Joe Pyfer or like there's a handful of guys that you could name that are like jacked 185ers who are gonna fucking knock you out.
Yeah, he's not a physically imposing man. He is, as one would say, a very fluffy.
Yes.
Except not anymore.
Except not fluffy, yeah.
It's a little fluff, mini fluff. Fluff.
He probably earned that nickname when he joined a gym, joined his gym and started training, and they called him Fluffy. But he's in great shape now.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's.
He's not Joe Pyfer cut
very
though.
Good guess.
He's not fucking chiseled from USDA prime beef.
No, not many are that.
And now that there's no more USADA, spoiler alert for the Sphere.
Yeah, Jesus.
Everybody's about to get a whole lot more juiced up, bro.
It can't be that it's just going away. It has to be that they already have some deal in place with some other company. Like they're not just fucking turning back to the wild west here.
We're not going to get into it right this second, but it sounds like the McGregor thing really pissed everybody off. Both sides.
Yeah, that was definitely a tipping point.
So I don't think they got anything really lined up just yet. I think they're kind of pissing in the wind, and they have till January 1st basically to get something in place.
Well, it could be that.
Yikes.
When was UFC 200? Were they working with USADA for 200?
They were. They had the exemption for Lesnar. That was the big hullabaloo.
Because I'm like, if they're pissed off about McGregor, they had to have been pissed off about Brock.
It's very possible that's why they're not doing it for McGregor, because they did it for Brock.
Yeah.
The whole thing is just so...
It all adds
like,
up. Do we want to say anything?
No, we'll save it. We'll save it for the sphere.
We will save it because that's literally all I have. Because I know we want to all
real quick. Yeah, real quick. Do we want to say anything about Abdul Razak Alhassan's potential next opponent, or you just guys want to move on?
I wrote a name down. I'll throw it out quick.
Do
Julian Marquez. I think that is a banger.
I don't hate that.
Yeah,
I hate that.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I feel like Tresean Gore has a fight coming up soon. So if he wins that fight, I think that'd be the way to go.
Okay. Let's talk now. Speaking of middleweights who look like welterweights, let's talk about a middleweight who became a welterweight in Joaquin Buckley and his unanimous decision victory over Alex Morono. The scorecards read 30-27, 30-27, and a 30-26, all for Joaquin Buckley. Mark, start us off this time. Give us your thoughts on Buckley's performance over the always game and always tough and always talented Alex Morono.
Yeah, that is a big statement performance for Joaquin Buckley. You know, we haven't seen anybody handle Alex Morono like that in a long, long time. And I feel pretty good about my read on this fight because I think it really was the speed and the athleticism that ended up being the differentiator here. Yep. You know, Morono had a really hard time finding Joaquin in there for long portions of that fight, especially with anything that was too clean. And it did take Buckley a bit to get Morono's timing down and to find the openings in his defenses, but he did. And his cardio was also an X factor in doing it, which you love to see because he was as fresh in round 3 as he was in round 1, and round 3 is the round where he really showed out. He got inside more. He started to hurt Morono, and Morono takes him down, and for a second you're like, oh man, like, is Buckley stuck down here? And he pops right up, which tells you a lot about where he's at cardio-wise, skill improvement-wise, everything. And it looked like at that point Morono was just mentally broken, that he thought he had, turned the tide, and then Buckley popped right up. And from that point on, it was the Buckley show for those final couple minutes in there. And Morono did survive to see the bell. He's a real tough dude. We know this. But, yeah, that was the Joaquin Buckley show in the end of that fight. He looked fantastic, and I am intrigued to see how far he can take it at welterweight.
Omar?
Yeah, man. His shots look heavy in there. He was doing I don't want to say cocking back because he wasn't really like so far out, but he was definitely like loading up hard for a lot of those straight shots. And Alex was just kind of moving back a little bit too much there. He wasn't cutting enough angles, I don't think. And it just gave Buckley a little too many it gave him too many targets to hit that were just so straight on, and they didn't vary, I think, enough. But I think the power got to Moreno, and I'm not surprised, right? The power from Buckley looks absolutely ridiculous, and the athleticism was 100% apparent, especially when you compare the two and you juxtapose the two, right? Next to each other, it's a glaring difference, the athleticism between one and the other. So it's a great performance from Buckley, man. Really, really good, and I think it sets him up nicely for another fight.
For a guy who carries as much muscle as Joaquin Buckley does, if he can make 170 in a healthy and sustainable way, dude is a real nightmare at welterweight. And can't wait to see what's next for him. Let's talk about it. Mark, you got a name for Mr. Joaquin Buckley at welterweight? Who do you want to see him match up with next?
Yeah, I know it's only been a couple fights here, but that was an impressive win, and I think he deserves his shot. A couple fights at welterweight, I mean, obviously. I think he deserves his shot to kind of break through. I'm going to give him a proven vet and say Santiago Ponzinibbio, who is another guy that recently beat Morono. And if that can't work, I'm even willing to go as far as saying Neil Magny.
Ooh, wow. Neil Magny. That would be very interesting. Omar, any other thoughts on that?
So Santiago Ponzinibbio was the name that I had picked out. But I'd probably go towards the Gunnar Nelsons. I think Neil Magny's still a little too up there, I think, right now for Buckley, at least in my opinion, at least for now. But I think you can get through somebody like Gunnar Nelson in that stage, and I think you can give him somebody towards the low end of the top 15.
Okay. guys have anything to say about Morono? Do Morono. He's the best.
Yeah, I wrote a name for all the losers here, so I'll give it to you. I don't know that he'll love it. He's been getting to fight some real names lately. This is not necessarily that, but I will say Carlston Harris. He is 4-1 though in the UFC. His only loss in the UFC is to Shavkat. He has looked good. I think he deserves an opponent like a Morono. And Morono has lost a couple recently. So, I mean, not in a row, but, 2 out of 3 I think it is for him. So, I think he's got to try to turn back a guy like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually had Alesi Zaleski, I believe that is a Dos Santos, in there somewhere. Yeah. Yes.
My boy. Does he not have a fight? Does he ever get booked in fights? I swear.
Didn't he just fight?
They just want to wait until he's fucking 80 years old because they're afraid he'll beat everyone.
I thought he just fought.
Oh, he's fighting Renat. That's what they did. Rude. Yeah, I hate it.
Oh, it was June. Fuck, why does that feel like that shit just happened?
I think because we were just talking about how they booked him against Renat.
Maybe, yeah. All right, well, maybe give him... Where the fuck are they at? Give him the winner. The winner of that fight. Oh, maybe the loser. The loser probably makes more sense. Renat is way up there.
Yeah, probably. All right, let's do it.
Yeah, man. Let's moving right along here. In the lightweight division again, Drew Dober gets another impressive Drew Dober victory by defeating Ricky Glenn in the very first round by TKO. The official time 2:36 of round number 1. Omar, start us off with this one. What are your thoughts of Drew Dober getting another knockout victory?
You guys have seen Old School, right? Way back when.
Oh my God, forever ago. But yes, of course.
It's my fucking boy, Blue. Drew Dober is my fucking boy, man. I love me some Drew Dober, man. First of all, super happy that I think is he finally ranked? No.
Nope.
No, we just talked about it, yeah.
Which is dumb because he just knocked out Bobby Green. So if you're going to rank Bobby Green, he's ranked in the Mark rankings.
This is why you need to work for the UFC. You need to be their matchmaker.
He's great, though, man. And I definitely think he deserves to get, a top 15 guy in there. But as far as the fight is concerned, I mean, the dude is tight, man. His skill and his technique is very, very tight. You can see him continuing to sharpen up. He's not flashy. He's not a guy that's going to, throw 360 crazy shit and do the Bobby Green kind of style and things like that. He's not a very flashy guy, but he's very, very efficient with the fundamentals, very good with it. His timing and his IQ in there is very, very good. And he looks like he hits like a fucking truck. So, like I said, I love me some Drew Dober. Ricky Glenn looked a little out of his league in there, if we're being honest. I don't know if that's... I don't know. I thought it would be a little bit more of a competitive fight in there than it seemed like it was being and ended up being. But a beautiful performance from Drew Dober.
Mark?
My number 1, 2, and 3 takeaway from this fight is that Ricky Glenn ate way too many shots.
Sure.
I don't know what the fuck we are doing, honestly, letting that man eat that many shots. Aside from that, I thought he looked really bad. I thought he looked slow and stiff and old, frankly. So I don't know when that happened. I don't remember if I thought that in his last fight, but I thought it in this fight from the opening bell. So I don't know that I love him continuing to fight, at least not against the Drew Dobers of the world, if we're going to keep going here. But Drew looked fantastic. That was everything that makes Drew great. The striking at all different levels, body shots right out of the gate, kicking the legs, obviously lighting up Ricky Glenn to the head, stayed composed through it all. He didn't force it, which is what bit him in the ass against Matt Favola. He stayed defensively responsible, and that is how Drew Dober wins a fight. So he did a great job to bounce right back and make a statement with a dominant performance after he took that loss.
Yeah, man. Omar, who should Drew Dober fight next at lightweight?
So, you want to give him a top 15 guy, right? You want to hopefully move him up in the rankings. I feel like we just talked about Grant Dawson. I gave Grant Dawson another name, but now that I'm looking at it, I don't know. I kind of like that matchup, man. I think that's a good opportunity for Drew Dober. I think Grant Dawson losing the way that he did to Bobby Green, I think there is a little bit of stop in that momentum that he's been having in the UFC so far. And I think Drew Dober's had some nice momentum as of recent, with the exception of that Matt Frivola loss. But he's looked, I mean, even in that fight, he looked pretty good until he got fucked up. So I think I'm going in that direction. Grant Dawson.
Like it, Mark?
Yeah, I like that too. For my Dawson matchup, I had said Jalen Turner. For Drew Dober, I was going to go, or I am going to go with Renato Moicano. I hate to give one of them a loss right now, but I just feel like that matchup makes a lot of sense. But the reason I go back to the Dawson Turner thing is because I almost feel like those 4 guys could match up in any way, and it makes sense. I feel like that's like a little bucket right now.
Yeah.
So that's what I would like to see shake out here one way or the other.
Cool. Anything you guys want to say about Ricky Glenn or no?
Yeah, I put down Nasrat Haqparast. Feel like they're at very similar levels. Haqparast is maybe a bit less of a KO threat after seeing the way Ricky Glenn just looked, so we'll see if he can potentially bounce back against a guy like that, and gives Haqparast a chance to keep working his way up.
Okay. Let's now, unless Omar, you have anything to say about Mr. Glenn?
Nope. Good.
Okay. In the featherweight division, opening up the main card of this UFC fight night, Bill Algeo gets the win over Alexander Hernandez by unanimous decision. Shutout on the scorecards. All 3 judges gave it to Algeo, 30-27. Omar, start us off. Give us your take and your thoughts of Bill Algeo getting the dub.
Algeo is a motherfucker, man. That fight was ridiculous. I mean, there's so much that happened in that fight, right? I mean, even everything from that eye poke that wasn't an eye poke just because the thumb's knuckle went into this man's eye. I mean, he was getting lit up left and right in that fight. And so Alexander Hernandez's credit, he did not stop trying to fight. He did not stop trying to move forward. But Algeo was just he has such a looseness and a creativity in there that we see a lot of people try to have in the cage in various organizations, not just the UFC, all over the place. And they don't look like they're nearly as comfortable as how Bill Algeo tends to conform himself in the octagon. And it's really fun to watch him fight. He like I said, he's very creative. And I think he really confused, I forgot this boy's name already, Alexander Hernandez in there a little bit. I think Alexander Hernandez ended up waiting a little bit too much. Didn't really end up getting off first a lot of the time. When he did, Algeo's defense I thought was on point for the most part. And he got cracked quite a bit in that fight. So I thought it was a beautiful, again, performance from Bill Algeo. I think we kind of thought that this was going to happen, especially after the Billy Quarantillo fight. But I think it was even more masterful than that fight was.
Mark, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this was a good scrap. I enjoyed watching this fight. I honestly, I feel like Bill Algeo won it with his defense. You know, Hernandez was playing his typical walk-him-down game. His cardio did hold up, so props to him for that. The 1-2 still looked really powerful from him, as it always does, but he struggled with the awkwardness of Bill Algeo, and Omar kind of touched on it too. Like, he had big movements, a lot of leaning, very free in there. He was constantly changing stances. Even as Alex was throwing, he would change his stance, like, defensively to avoid the shots, and Hernandez had a hard time finding him for the most part. And then even when he did, Bill was doing such a good job of leaning with the shots to take away some of the impact. So I really feel like his defense was kind of the key. And, of course, he did work offensively, too. He was able to lean on the reach a bit, landed that big left in the second to put Hernandez down for a moment. And really, he was just able to rack up more points because he made sure Alex missed more than he landed. So a good, tough fight. I didn't think Hernandez looked bad. He just got beat. Algeo was the better man in there. He fought a composed veteran-type fight, and he earned that W.
Yeah, I wish that Alexander Hernandez would do something a little bit different with the way that his fight stance is. I feel like he's too open, man. I really do. And I feel like it's one of those things where it's not allowing him to move properly when he's actually trying to get in there, right? Now, Algeo is moving all over the place. He's going from side to side, doing all kinds of shit. And Alexander Hernandez didn't seem like he was really able to follow him. Didn't seem like he was really able to do what he needed to do to get an advantageous position while those things were going on. And it looks like because he didn't really have the movement to do it. I just felt like had he closed that gap a little bit in his stance, I think he would have been able to move a little bit better in there with Algeo. But otherwise, it just let Algeo kind of dance around for a lot of that fight.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that take.
Let's talk about what could be next at featherweight for Bill Algeo. Mark?
He mentioned Billy Q, who obviously beat Hernandez recently himself, and honestly, I'm here for it. They're almost mirror image fighters in a lot of ways, and whoever did win that matchup, I think, would really propel himself forward into a shot against a solid ranked opponent. So, yeah, I say book that.
Omar, any other ideas?
Yeah, I kind of want that, if we're being wholly honest. That is a crazy fight. I'm extremely interested to see what that pace looks like. I know we probably can't have a 5-round fight, but how amazing could a 5-round fight actually be? If that
yeah, I'd be down for sure.
But yeah, that's a great fight with Billy Q.
What's next for Hernandez, man? Mark, what do you think could be next for him? Is he staying at featherweight? Is he going back up to lightweight? You think he's going to be out of the UFC at some point? He's been so up and down since his loss to Cowboy. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think we're at an out of it point yet. I mean, he just won his last fight against Jim Miller, which is still pretty solid. I matched him up at 45. I honestly didn't think about that maybe he would just give up on this now that he's 0-2 there. So I'd have to look for a lightweight opponent. If he stays at 45, the name I was thinking was Hakeem Dawodu. He's another guy like Hernandez who seems to have a lot of talent, who kind of is rotating wins and losses, just can't seem to fully put together what it looks like he has, which is Hernandez's same deal. So that's who popped into my head to put them both in there together.
Anybody else, Omar?
I think for me, fighting Fernando Padilla could be interesting. I think his striking is a little fun as well. I know he recently is coming off of I don't think he won his last fight, right? He had a little bit of a weird showing, but he looked good in his last couple, or at least the first fight that I saw him in against Julian Erosa. Looked a little weird in his last fight, but I enjoyed the way he fought against Erosa enough that I think another shot, somebody like Alex Hernandez who will stand and bang with him, I think that'd be fun.
You know what I liked? I liked the way you said his name. You said it with a little Spanish. I need a little more of that from you on this show, okay?
Well, there's like 5 Spanish dudes every now and again that we get to talk about, so...
I want to speak every language.
That'd be nice.
Not enough time. Okay, let's jump into our lightning round. Here we go, lightning round, where I challenge Mark and Omar to give me their quickest takes, a phrase perhaps. Here we go. In the women's strawweight division, the featured bout on the preliminary card of this UFC fight night. In the women's strawweight division, Karolina Kowalkiewicz defeated Diana Belbita by unanimous decision. Mark, go first.
This one was what it was billed to be. Both of these women went in there ready to scrap. They both had moments, but the technique of Karolina, I think, was just crisper and cleaner than that of Belbita, and that's kind of what shone through. Belbita was, putting her head down and trying to get inside, but Karolina did a great job just to pick her apart, counter when she stepped in, plus the grappling that we did see generally went her way. Belbita did have a couple moments there too, but all in all, it was just another well-rounded showing from Karolina, and she makes it 4 in a row.
Omar.
Yeah, dude, I was really happy for her, man. She's been on a nice little run here. She had to definitely get into a scrap with Belbita, but she definitely was the better fighter in there. I thought by the end of that fight, she had done more damage. She was landing a lot more than Belbita was. Belbita kind of seemed like she was just a step behind for a good majority of that fight. So it was a great performance, man. Super happy for Karolina. I hope that win streak continues.
Okay. Flyweight division, Nate Maness defeats Mateus Mendonça. How do you say it, Mendonça?
Mendonça.
I think they don't say the I think they say Mendonça.
Mendonça.
By TKO in the very first round. Omar, go.
Yeah, let's stop trying to go for submissions while you're getting punched in the fucking face. Just let's not do it anymore. It doesn't work. It continues to not work. And like I feel like there's a toughness that guys feel like they look like they have when they're just trying to get a submission they're not going to get while getting like completely pummeled from one direction or the other. It's just not smart. Just not smart. And it caught up to him, and he now has a TKO loss because he couldn't just get his ass up off the floor and continue to fight. So there we go.
All right, Mark.
I have said it before. I will say it again. I will echo Omar. Extended leg hunting in modern MMA is a dead man's decision. Guys are too good now. They're too well-rounded. And Nate Maness showed it again. And Mendonce ate a ton of shots that he didn't need to be eating for the sake of hunting for the legs of Maness. And he paid for it. And he eventually got his head dribbled off the canvas. And I don't know why guys keep doing this. We are past it. The game has evolved past this being an option. And for Maness, a fantastic, calm, poised performance from him and a good win.
I will never get the image of Ryan Hall out of my head when he lost to fucking help me. I'm brain farting.
Taporia?
Yes.
Oh.
God damn it.
I had to think for a second.
Where were you?
Yeah.
All right.
You can go for it, but it needs to be like I am going to count to 7 in my head.
Not even.
And if this shit hasn't happened, I got to get out of this spot.
Yeah,
Dude, count to 3.
but Mendonce was also doing it seemingly during an opportunity that wasn't an opportunity. He just because he had the leg, he was like, I'm just gonna keep tweaking it and hope something breaks or something. It was a weird approach to the situation, if we're being honest.
Okay, moving on. In the spirit of lightning, in the women's strawweight division, Vanessa Demopoulos gets back in the win column with her unanimous decision victory over Kanako Murata. Omar, go first.
So I know we're supposed to be lightening this, but I'm actually really curious to hear what Mark has to say about this fight, because the second round is a real motherfucker in this fight, and it really comes down to whether you think Vanessa Demopoulos did enough damage and threw up enough submission attempts in that second round to win it over the control and the occasional heavy strike thrown by Murata in the second round. The third round, I thought Murata took it a little bit. I feel like she took the round a little bit more seriously and definitely threw a lot more strikes in there. Made that third round, I think, a lot clearer for herself. But that second round was rough, man. I don't even know which way I really went.
Okay, Mark. What do you think?
I like Vanessa Demopoulos' mentality. I like her attitude and her outlook. I liked the way in this fight that she fought from bottom and tried to stay active. She didn't win this fight. Everyone agrees Murata won round 3, obviously. Yeah. But she also won round 2. I get it. Vanessa was landing some shots from the bottom, but it's not as if Murata was doing nothing. I thought it was pretty clear that she won round 2. And I also thought round 1 was really close. I scored it by a hair for Demopoulos, but even that was close. So I don't know. I didn't love this decision. Can't speak. I can't imagine that Murata is too thrilled about it. But hey, Vanessa gets another one.
Okay, 2 more. In the bantamweight division, Aori Kilong defeats Johnny Munoz Jr. by UD. All 3 judges, 29-28 for Kilong. Mark, go first.
Also, I meant to say a second ago that something like 80% of MMA decisions had it for Murata. And so did every expert listed except like 1, I think it was. So factor that in. As for Aori Kilong and Munoz, yeah, we knew exactly what this one was going to be, which was the grappling of Munoz against the striking of Aori Kilong. But that's not necessarily what we got. You know, the difference in this fight really ended up being the fact that Aori Kilong was able to do well in the grappling. You know, he dropped round 1 for sure and had Munoz on his back, and it was like, oh, you know, he's struggling here as expected. But round 2, he really did well to defend takedowns, and then he even got his own. He worked from top. And round 3, finally, he was able to have some space and work on his strikes. But then he even ended up on top once again and made sure he closed out the decision that way. So good little progression we saw from him in this fight, and a needed W.
Yeah, man. Omar?
I actually really enjoyed this fight. I really like the striking from Aoki Lang.
Aori Kilong, I think they say.
Long. I really love his striking, man. His striking is pretty crisp. I feel like he's got a Muay Thai base from what it seems like. Obviously, yes, he has to modify it to make sure he doesn't get his ass taken down to the ground, but it seems like that's the base that he has, and he looks really good in there. I thought the fight was pretty clear to me, right? The first round I thought was pretty easy to score for what's homeboy's name? Johnny Munoz. But the last two rounds I thought were pretty clear for Aoki Long, and he did so much damage in that round. Especially, and like Mark said, he did well in the grappling. Reversed a few positions, got on top from bottom position a few times. I thought he did really well. So I thought it was a good fight from Aoki Long and a good showing of his grappling for somebody who I think who's known to be a striker.
Okay, last one. Women's flyweight division. JJ Aldrich gets the win over Montana De La Rosa by UD. Omar, do it.
Aldrich looked good, man. Her striking was pretty crisp. Her distance while she was striking was also really nice as well. She wasn't overextending. She was staying in the same spot, getting De La Rosa at the end of her strikes, right? Not crowding her punches. I thought she looked really, really good, to be honest. It wasn't the most exciting fight in the world, but just looking at the sequences as they were, I thought Aldrich had some really nice technique in that fight.
Mark, take us home.
Yeah, I was interested to see who looked to wrestle here, and if they did, if De La Rosa could kind of lean on her grappling. And instead we got 15 minutes of a striking contest. No one really did. And going in, I would have expected JJ to win a striking contest, so I'm surprised mostly that there wasn't more of an effort from Montana to initiate that grappling, but yeah, from the Aldrich side, she was just the better boxer. She was quicker. She hit harder. She had Montana frozen with her feints numerous times and clearly won the exchanges. So, yeah, good one for her.
All right, boys, that does it for this week's lightning round and this week's recap of UFC Fight Night Dawson versus Green. To put a bow on this, let's find out who rose and who fell in Mark's very own rankings that he maintains that we call the Priaulx Rankings. Mark?
So we have the most movement we have had in some time. We got 5 risers and 3 fallers coming off of this card. I'll start with the fallers. We working our way from the bottom of the card to the top. Kanako Murata obviously hadn't fought in a while. I reinserted her into my rankings at number 16. She falls down to number 21 after the loss to Vanessa Demopoulos. Obviously, we were just talking about it might be a tough loss in terms of the decision, but it is a loss nonetheless. So she falls to number 21 at women's strawweight. Next faller is Alexander Hernandez. I had him up at number 17 in my featherweight rankings on the back of what he had done up at lightweight, obviously beating guys like Dariush and others. Takes a tough loss to Algeo here and takes a bit of a tumble, so he is now my number 29 ranked featherweight. And then the last one, Grant Dawson. He was my number 9 ranked lightweight coming in, gets KO'd by Bobby Green, and he is now out of my top 15. He is my number 16 lightweight. So I think the UFC has him at 15, I want to say. He's 16 for me, so one spot lower. To the risers. First one, JJ Aldrich, goes from number 26 to number 21 in my women's flyweight rankings. She's always a woman who has kind of bounced around. She takes losses you don't expect, wins you don't expect, but she's working her way back up to number 21 at the moment after beating Montana De La Rosa. On the flip side of the Murata fight I mentioned is Vanessa Demopoulos. She goes from number 25 to number 20 at women's strawweight on the back of that win. And then into some bigger ones. Drew Dober goes from number 21 up to number 15 in my lightweight rankings.
Ooh, baby.
And yes, he only beat Ricky Glenn, but I am not ignoring the fact that he also recently KO'd Bobby Green. So that is why he is 15 and Grant Dawson is 16. Next one up, Joaquin Buckley. He was down at number 45 in my welterweight ranks. He had only had the one fight at welterweight. It was against Fialho. It was kind of tough to gauge how he stacked up. He makes a big jump now after beating Alex Morono. So he goes from number 45 to number 22 in my welterweight ranks.
Damn.
Okay.
And then the very last one, the King, Bobby Green. He was down at number 22 at lightweight, and he is now my number 14 ranked lightweight.
Good for Bobby Green.
Yeah, man. Good for Bobby. All right. Let us now dive into the MMA sphere with Omar Artola. Omar, a lot has gone down this past week, mostly in the past couple days. Tell us.
Correct. So I don't really think we need to get into anything other than what has gone down in the last few hours. Really?
Yeah, pretty much.
Really
today.
Yeah. So I guess let's start with, we'll start with the fight announcements and then we will end with this USADA talk and see.
Wait. Are we supposed to be doing the sphere before we do Bellator?
Oh, belly tours.
My bad.
I mean, we could do it either way.
Dude, I was so excited to have my chocolate.
Go for it. I mean, we could do the sphere first. Why not?
It's going to be a clip anyway.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, so like I said, I'll do the fight announcements first, and then we will get to some Bellator here. So we will start with a couple of announcements for this upcoming weekend. Chris Duncan is out against his fight with Brendan Marotte. Terrence McKinney will now be facing... Is it the other way around?
Yeah, Duncan was supposed to fight McKinney.
Okay. So McKinney will now be fighting
stepping in.
Brendan Marotte.
Yeah.
Marc-Andre Barrio is out against his fight with Michel Pereira. Michel Pereira will now be fighting Andre Petroski this weekend in Vegas. Next on the list, we have Nasruddin Imavov. He is out against his fight with Ikram Aliskerov. Aliskerov will now be fighting Warley Alves at UFC 294 on October 21st. So this is one of both of these next ones are big news. This just happened in the last couple of hours. Paulo Costa is out officially of his fight with Khamzat Chimaev. Turns out, supposedly he had bursitis in his elbow, and they had to get that surgically figured out. And I think what do they have to cut and drain it or some crazy shit? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
They did that apparently, I believe, 5 weeks ago. And as it turns out, he needs another surgery, which I think he already got, but then he also needs another one on Friday. So by the end of the week, he will have had 3 surgeries for this same damn elbow, and was supposed to be fighting next weekend. So that's not happening. Khamzat Chimaev will not be facing Kamaru Usman next week at UFC 294.
Wild. Wild.
Shit is crazy. Mark's boy, Charles Oliveira, went too hard in sparring. Split his whole shit open. His eye is dangling. It's a bit much. But his eye, like his what is this? His eyebrow. His eyebrow's all the way open. It took me a minute. So Islam Makhachev will now be fighting Alexander Volkanovski again at UFC 294 on October 21st. Gamrot is apparently out for Dana White's soul from rumors. Not sure how that's going to get resolved, but Gamrot is none too pleased. And I don't blame him, because you made him the official backup fighter, and then now that you actually need the backup fighter, you told him to go fuck himself?
So, see, I've heard other people say this, but the backup fighter means on the scales. Like that you're going to weigh in, and if a dude drops out in the 24 hours between that and the fight, you got it. It doesn't
I know that's
mean if someone falls out 10 days before, it's your fight.
It should. Then what's the point? It definitely should, because if you're going to have other options anyway, then what's the point of having me as a backup fighter? If it's me that I'm next in line, and it's clear that I'm next in line, then I should be the backup fighter, because then
But he's not next in line.
But he should be.
He's not next in line at all. Gaethje is very obviously the guy who was getting the winner of this fight. But Justin Gaethje was not about to be no backup fighter. That's why this backup fighter thing is so murky, because it has to be guys who are willing to say, sure, I'll take a 24-hour fight. And Gaethje's not doing that.
Well, I still think Gamrot should have gotten the shot then. But so that's what's going on over there. Like I said, Gamrot apparently is out for blood, but we'll see what happens there.
I just realized I'm muted. I was like interjecting that whole time.
Oh, didn't even hear you.
Sorry, pal.
Nursultan Ruziboev is out against his fight with Cal Borralho. Borralho will now be facing Abus Magomedov, and that will be going down at UFC Sao Paulo on November 4th. Curtis Blades is out with his fight against Jailton Almeida. Almeida will now be facing Derek Lewis at UFC Sao Paulo and will be headlining that card on November 4th.
Such a worse fight.
I can't tell you how much I hate that fight.
Yeah. Dude, so many good fights fell apart in these last few days. It fucking sucks.
And on Costa's side, I guess now that he needs a couple of the surgeries, it is what it is. But to me, it's like if you were really ready to fight, you wouldn't have said shit about this elbow until the fight was over. And then you would have been like, hey, I got surgery 6 weeks ago.
Well, I guess he knew the doctors were going to see it.
Chooch.
But yeah.
Wow.
Dude, we could spend half an hour on the career of Paulo Costa and all the oddities.
Yeah. All right, next on the list we have Wellington Turman versus Jared Gooden. That's been added to UFC's Austin card on December 2nd. We have Muslim Salikov versus Randy Brown. That has been added to UFC's 296 card on December 16th. And we have Marcus McGee versus Gaston Bolaños. That's been added to the January 13th card next year. Brendan Parsons versus Basil Hafez getting another shot in the octagon, again, January 13th. And Ricky Simone versus Mario Batista. That's a fucking banger right there.
Yeah,
that, again, is going down January 13th. Last two, we have Jillian Robertson versus Polyana Viana. That fight has been added to UFC's 297 card on January 20th. And finally, we have Brad Katona versus Garrett Armfield. That fight has also been added to UFC's 297 card on January 20th. And that is all the fight announcements we have. But it's not everything we have. Because we have to talk about USADA no longer being the partner with the UFC for anti-doping and drug testing. Apparently, their business relationship will be coming to an end officially on December 31st. So, from what it seems like, is there was a lot of contention with McGregor, and McGregor getting an early exemption, and USADA saying no. And so, McGregor has officially entered the pool, I think as of either this week or last week. I can't remember now. I think it's this week or early this week. So he has officially entered the pool, but now he has to have at least 2 negative drug tests and also needs to be in the pool for a minimum of 6 months before he can compete. So he has to have both of those stipulations kind of checked off before he's able to actually step foot in the octagon to fight. Speculation is now that after December 31st, they can kind of do whatever the fuck they want with McGregor. So if they want McGregor to fight in January, it seems like he has the ability to fight in January without any repercussions. So that's kind of where they're at. USADA had a really long, belabored message about how they're trying to keep their integrity and they're not going to sacrifice essentially their integrity for, short, or was it like basically like a pay like a payday or something like that, right? Like just for an event or just because it's financially good for you. But it does seem like that is the end of the USADA era. I believe it's been 10 years since USADA came into play. I believe starting with the death of Johnny Hendricks and others. And I'm interested to see, it's true, dog. That dude never knocked out another soul again. I'm interested to see what happens though, man, because it doesn't look like we might have been talking about this. We just talked about this on here, but I don't think they have anything lined up. They have till the beginning of January to get this figured out. They could go back to internally testing and all that kind of stuff. We're probably going to see a lot of these TRT Vtors pop up if that is the case. So I'm interested to see what happens at this point. If they go with another company, maybe somebody more independent. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know the other established names out there, but I mean, you got to think they got to have someone ready to go for the second we tick to January 1st, because for them to like go back to the Wild Wild West and have that be how people look at them is not what they have been going for in terms of trying to legitimize themselves as a mainstream sport.
Especially once guys start popping up and failing smell tests left and right. All of a sudden, USADA's not there, and like Alex Morono is going to walk in with a fucking 6-pack and just jacked to hell and like, yeah, I've just been training really hard, guys. You know what I'm saying? No shade to Alex Morono. He was just the first one that was in my head. But yeah, that's,
Dude,
go ahead.
they're gonna partner up with the kind of drug testing clinic that you go to when you get hired by a new job and you have to go like pee into a cup.
Funny story. I may or may not have used fake pee to do that once.
Hey,
What?
bro.
Did you really?
I had to. I smoked way too much weed.
Wow.
You smoke way too much weed.
Well, I smoked way too. Well, I still, I guess, smoke too much weed to pass the
I mean,
test.
that's not for me to say. You smoke as much weed as you smoke.
Well, to pass the test, no, I smoke way too much weed.
Yeah.
Not gonna happen. So yeah, had to do what I had to do. I needed the job. So there it goes.
Good for you, bro. Hey,
Long
you
time
do
ago.
what you gotta do,
Long
bro.
time ago. I was still living in New York when I did that.
Should we loop back? Is there anything else?
No, that was pretty much the big news of the week, to be honest. It's basically just looks like it's trying to work between USADA figuring or UFC figuring out what they're going to do after USADA's end and getting Conor McGregor back in the octagon and seemingly as soon as humanly possible. So
Yeah.
that seems to be big news.
Okay. Let's queue up Bellator. Oops. All right, this past weekend, October 7th, in the Pechanga Arena in San Diego, California, Bellator 300 went down. That's right, Bellator's 300th event, headlined by Usman Nurmagomedov defending his Bellator lightweight title against Brent Primus, getting it done by unanimous decision. Mark, give us your thoughts on Nurmagomedov getting another win and staying perfect now 18-0 as a professional mixed martial artist. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Usman Nurmagomedov is a special fighter. There is nothing he can't do. He does it all with such a calmness about him. I don't know who I've even seen that appears to be able to slow down the fight in his mind the way that Usman Nurmagomedov can. Like, there is nothing that phases him, that gets him off his rhythm, that speeds him up. He's just been a perfect fighter thus far. Like, it's as if he's detached and controlling himself with a video game controller.
Yeah.
He's that perfect in his execution, and he was all that for 25 minutes against Brent Primus. Was it a bit boring at times? Yeah, I get why the crowd was restless. But I did tell you last week that Brent Primus was a hard guy to put out and a hard guy to even necessarily style on. And that proved to be true. Like, was it a clear 50-45 for Usman? Yes, it was. Did he get to look spectacular doing it? Not really. Primus he just doesn't make it so easy to do that. But yeah, it was a great performance. You know who he reminds me of, honestly? And this, I guess, is a bit extreme. But John Jones, in that he is so good in every aspect of the game and so good at blending them that he will just be comfortable to dictate the fight for as long as he needs to until the opening presents itself. And if it does, then a fantastic finish comes. If it doesn't, you get these fights that kind of seem a bit boring just because he's so in control. And I feel like it was kind of similar during John's run. But that's what we got here, the second one. But either way, it was a clear dominant W for Usman, and he continues to show how good he is.
Omar, what were your thoughts on Russian John Jones getting the win?
It's a good win, man. Brent Primus tried it. He tried everything he could in there. You could see how hard he fought throughout that entire 5 rounds. I feel like the restlessness, at least for me in that fight, was me feeling like Usman could have done more. And I think he was content to sort of just do enough to get through the rounds. And it's not to say that he could have styled on Brent Primus, but there were a lot of moments where I think he could have done a little bit more to try and find a finish, or try to at least create an opening or an opportunity for a finish. And we never really got there. And I think that approach to the fight, I think, made it difficult to fully enjoy it in that sense. So I definitely also understand the boos and the frustration in that fight. But with that being said, Usman's performance is really good, man. I mean, you can't really say anything about his skill and his technique. You wish you saw more. You wish he can do more. But what he did perform in there, and the way that he was able to kind of neutralize Brent Primus, who was like trying to go nonstop in that fight, was impressive. He's really good, man. He's definitely a problem. I wonder if we ever get to see him in the UFC, but either way, man, he's a big problem.
I hope so, man. I mean, like, trying to think about how good he is, right? Like, in terms of who he's beaten to this point, I guess he probably wouldn't be ranked in the UFC as of yet. But, like, just as an example, if I told you that he was going to fight Bobby Green, who would you be picking?
Oh, him.
Right? Like, pretty comfortably. So, like, that means this dude is already, like, top 10 level lightweight, as young as he is. Which, even a few fights ago, I didn't feel like we were there yet, and now I'm kind of like, damn, yeah, he's this good. So I do certainly hope we see him end up in the UFC.
I think similar to Chandler, I think he comes in and he immediately fights for a number one contender kind of fight.
Very possible.
A title eliminator. And if he gets that win, he's going straight to the title because he's so good.
Yeah, I mean, the one that we wanted to see that would have told us a lot is him in the finals against AJ McKee.
Yeah.
But of course, AJ McKee fell out, and now it won't be AJ McKee in those finals. But that one really would have told us a lot.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
all right. What could be next for these two guys, Mark?
Well, so to carry on from what I was just saying, obviously we know for Usman, he will be in the finals of the Grand Prix. He'll be waiting for the winner of the remaining semifinal, which is Alexander Shabliy and Patricky Pitbull. He already beat Pitbull. Obviously, that's who he beat to take the title. So as a fan, I'm kind of hoping it's Shabliy. At least that's a fresh matchup, and Shabliy has looked really good. He finished Brent Primus, which is the only guy who has done that. So maybe that's what we get. Could be a rematch with Pitbull, who knows? But either way, Usman will look to add Bellator Grand Prix champion and $1 million to his resume in the next one. And or should I go right to Primus, or should I? Yeah, I guess, right? In that same fight, if Patricky Pitbull loses that semifinal, I think he's a perfect opponent for Primus because that's a fight we're yet to see in Bellator between those two. If Shabliy is the loser, doesn't work, considering, as I just said, he finished Primus pretty recently, and the rest of this division is kind of booked up. They even, I don't know if you guys saw, they booked AJ McKee against Sidney Outlaw, which could be some fun grappling in that one. And most of the other guys are booked as well, so I think it becomes more of a wait and see for Primus if that's how that semi plays out.
Nice. All right. Omar, do you have anything to say about what could be next for Nurmagomedov?
No. Bellator is fucking weird with all that stuff. You either know exactly what's next for them or you have no idea what's going on with their rankings. So I leave that to Mark.
Dude, my buddy Todd Atkins reshared a video from, what's that guy's name? Is it Jimmy Smith?
Oh, yeah. Good boy, Jimmy
Talking
Smith.
about that Jimmy Smith thinks that Bellator 300 could be the last Bellator. Like he was there. He went to 300 and he was like everybody, all the old guys were there. Like it was a weird kind of an atmosphere, like a reunion. Like this is like the last hurrah.
Even though they've announced 301 already?
Yeah, he said that. He was like,
because 301 is the semifinal that I just mentioned. It's the Pettis and Mix fight.
I think he said
the
something
Amosov
like
fight.
They were gonna go through the end of the year, so get to like 302. But then he said they might just call it after 300 because it was such a milestone event.
Wow,
that would be crazy. Wow. So
I'd like to see them at least get to 301 to unify the Sergio Pettis and Patchy Mix titles. I
Yeah.
feel like that has to happen.
If they're
Same.
disbanding, what does it matter?
I
mean,
don't
it's
wanna see
still-
it. That's why it fucking matters.
and it's still a recognized belt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think to me, just the way that Anthony Pettis was the last WEC lightweight champion, I think it would mean something for Sergio, for example, to walk away as the Bellator. The hell is he now? Flyweight champion?
Bantamweight.
Bantamweight champion?
Dude, I'm looking at that card right now. This is the 5-fight main card. Sergio and Patchy Mix to unify the bantamweight titles. Yaroslav Amosov defending against Jason Jackson, who has looked really good. Patricky Pitbull and Alexander Shabley in the semi to see who fights Usman. AJ McKee and Sidney Outlaw. Ralphion Stotts and Danny Sabatello rematch. That's a great card.
Yeah.
Like, I hope that Jimmy Smith is wrong and that we get that card.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's 36 days from now, so I guess a lot could happen.
I guess so. And I guess Bellator did not get what they wanted from selling to or selling or merging with PFL.
It still seems like that's what most people think is going to happen. And Bader, what did he say? When Linton Vassell fell out on this card where he was supposed to fight Bader, obviously for the title, Corey Anderson tried to throw his name in the hat. He had knocked out Bader at light heavyweight, and he was saying, I'll give you a rematch, but I get my shot at the heavyweight belt now. And Bader said he was down, but then a fan asked him on Twitter, like, why is it not happening? And he said that it was because, what is it called? Viacom? Is that the company? Why am I blanking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The parent company.
That they were out as of October. So they didn't want to fork out any extra money to get someone in for the fight, so they were just happy to lose the fight. So I don't know what that means necessarily, out as of October. I guess that does support your idea from Jimmy Smith about November may not even happen, but that's what Bader said.
Could that mean that Viacom is out, meaning they're cutting Bellator? They're like,
I mean, that's what it seemed. So
wouldn't they want to sell Bellator?
no,
They
I
own
mean,
Bellator.
I don't know what the ownership situation is, but I think he just meant like they're no longer spending any new money other than what has been pre-spent here. Kind of, I don't know.
It's very possible because if they own the rights to Bellator, they could just not do shit and not spend money on Bellator. You know what I mean? And just, I would imagine, just hold on to the rights. People probably lose jobs left and right and all that kind of stuff. It's not great, but
crazy.
I think they have the ability to do that if they wanted to.
Whatever happens here, man, I hope there's no situation where dudes get held in like purgatory. Like,
Same.
get these guys to where they want to be. Give me fucking Patricio Pitbull against Max. Like, give me AJ McKee and Brian Ortega. Like, Usman against whatever lightweight we want to do. Yaroslav Amosov in at welterweight. Like, they're Eblin in at middleweight. Like, these dudes, there's big fights waiting for these guys. So I hope they don't get held up in any bullshit. Granted, they may not all come to the UFC. They could go to ONE or PFL or God knows where, but
Yeah.
either way.
Okay, let's continue with these recaps real quick for Bellator. Co-main event, Cris Cyborg, another knockout win of her career, another title defense, defeating Kat Zingano by round 1 knockout, defending her Bellator Women's Featherweight Championship. Omar, your thoughts?
I feel bad for Kat Zingano. She's been talking about wanting to fight Cris Cyborg for years, and she can beat her and all this other stuff. And she got manhandled. She got manhandled like most people do when they fight Cris Cyborg. And when we were talking about it last week, in my head, I was like, man, Cris Cyborg is, going to be measured, is going to, take it slow and kind of take her time chewing her food and all this other kind of stuff. And she did not. Kat Zingano gave her an opening. She took it and completely murdered Kat Zingano. So good performance from Cris Cyborg, man. Just another dominant performance, and another girl who thinks that they can just do what they want with Cris Cyborg until they get in there and feel her hands. So good deal,
man. Yeah. Mark?
Yeah, I was entertained while it lasted. Anytime you get someone who's unafraid to be in there with Cyborg, it's kind of fun to see. And Kat was not. She was in there to scrap. She was pushing it. She was trying again and again to find her entries and create an opportunity for a takedown, but it just wasn't there, man. Cyborg is too good. She stuffed every shot. I mean, how she timed half of them with uppercuts, including the finishing sequence, and she pounded Zingano out. Add another victim to the list. She's unreal. I don't know when she'll ever start to drop off. I wish we could have got one more between her and Amanda before Amanda walked away. It just to never have gotten a second one there, especially with the new Cyborg that we've seen since that fight, where she used to be this, kind of lunatic berserker, and then ever since getting knocked out there, she fights a much more composed style where she only goes for the kill when it's there. It would have been great to see that again, but unfortunately, doesn't seem like we'll be getting that one. But she shows how dominant she is once again.
Yeah, bro. All right, last one for Bellator. I'm hurting tonight, guys. I'm hurting.
Real quick, if Bellator does continue, it sounds like she is going. Not sounds like she is. They said going to get Leah McCourt. They brought Leah McCourt into the cage after the fight. McCourt actually finished Sarah McMahon in one earlier in the night, so that's a pretty big win. And it sounds like she's going to get her shot at Cyborg now.
Nice.
If we have events.
Yeah, if we have events. Okay, last one. Third title fight of Bellator 300. Liz Carmouche, round 5 TKO over Ilima-Lei Macfarlane. Mark, take it.
This one was pretty closely matched, at least early. It all took place on the feet. I'm not sure how much either girl was pushing, to be honest. We know they're friends. The ref did warn them for action a few times, but I thought Ilima-Lei edged the first, Liz edged the second, and it kind of felt like a pretty even-feeling fight going into the third. Granted, it was a bit of a spar. And then round 3 is really when it changed, because Liz Carmouche decided to target the known bad left knee of Macfarlane, and it immediately bore fruit. Say what you will about it. It's a fight. She is trying to defend her belt, and she knew it was there. And you could tell that Ilima-Lei was compromised severely almost immediately. But she pushed through it as much as she possibly could. She brought the pressure in round 4, actually, to keep herself in that fight. But then the first leg kick of round 5 was all she wrote. She went down in a heap. And Liz is still your champion, so I don't know. It was a weird one. Going into it, Liz is saying how she'd so much rather get a sub and just put Ilima-Lei to sleep and not have to bang with her and hurt her and their friends. And then she didn't just end up banging with her. She took it up a notch and decided to tear her knee to pieces when she knew it was injured. So I'm not sure what went through her mind there. Strange development after the pre-fight talk, but good win, and she marches on as champ.
Okay. Omar?
I thought it was a good fight, man. I feel bad about the way that fight ended, and we've seen a lot of these knee injuries as of late. It reminded me of the Venom Page TKO that he recently had against. I don't remember the dude's name, but I think he's from. Was he from? He wasn't from Bellator, right? He was Ryzen.
Gochi. No, he's Bellator, dude.
Is he Bellator? But yeah, we saw him kick Homeboy's kneecap, and his whole leg just like seized up and just stopped working, and it kind of gave me that same reaction in this fight as well. Macfarlane just dropped to the floor and kind of writhed out in pain a little bit, pretty audibly at that. And when something hurts you that bad, it probably hurts even worse than the way that it sounds out loud. So felt bad for her in the end. I thought it was a good fight. I thought that Liz kind of had the momentum going through that fight, though. I think her strikes were a little bit crisper. She had a lot more power behind her fight, or behind her punches. And I thought, as good as Macfarlane was defensively, I still thought Liz did a better job trying to find her and finding her throughout that fight. So I thought it was a good performance from Liz Carmouche and a wild little ending there.
Yeah, man. All right, that does it for Bellator, guys.
Nice.
Mark, did you have something else to say?
I was just getting ready to say who would be next, but
you
seemed like you're moving on. She asked for Kana Watanabe after the fight, who she's already beaten. I'm not sure Watanabe has quite earned another shot here, but that division's a weird one in that I don't know who else there really is at this point. Liz has kind of been cleaning it out, so that might be what we get. Again, now you're making me wonder how many more Bellator events we get, so who knows if it even happens. I guess there's a Japan idea being thrown around because Liz asked to fight Watanabe in Japan, and Cyborg asked to fight McCourt in Japan, I believe is what Cyborg said. So there must be, maybe there's another New Year's card with Ryzen. So I'm not sure, but they were throwing that out for sure. And then Ilima-Lei, going into this fight, was kind of alluding to the fact that it might be her last, and now with this knee injury, I kind of think that may end up being the case.
Yeah. All right. Let's now turn our attention towards the future, guys. This coming weekend, Saturday, October 14th, UFC Fight Night. Yusuff versus Barboza. Going down, of course, at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. Headlined by Sodiq Yusuff versus Edson Barboza. Before we get to the main event and a handful of other awesome matches from this event, any other names, any other fights or fighters that you guys want to quickly spotlight for our listeners and viewers?
So I have a couple real quick. The first one, I guess, that I'll be looking forward to is Cris Gutierrez versus Alateng. That should be a banger of a fight. Rina Alekskiva, hopefully she makes weight this time, but she looked pretty good in her last fight. And then I guess the Damage is on here as well. I didn't even realize dude was on this card. He would be fighting CJ Brown. So those are the ones I'll be looking forward to.
Mark?
Yeah, a couple of the same ones for me that I was going to highlight. I like that Elkins TJ Brown fight. I'm curious to see if TJ Brown can pass that test. I feel like he's like teetering right on the edge of how good you have to be to potentially beat a Darren Elkins right now. So we'll see how that one goes. And then I like that Cris Gutierrez Alatong Haley fight. Gutierrez was supposed to fight Montel Jackson. Definitely a little higher up the line than Alatang Haley is right now, but he's been a beast, and he has looked really good, so he's not anyone to look past. And we'll see if Gutierrez can shine against him.
Okay, let us begin. Man, what a nice fight night card. In the featherweight division, Christian Rodriguez taking on Cameron Saaiman. Christian Rodriguez, C-Rod, the 25-year-old out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, under the Showtime Group, so managed by Anthony Pettis' fighter management company. Shout out. He is 9-1 as a pro, stands 5 feet 7 inches tall, coming off back-to-back wins over Joshua Weems and Raul Rosas Jr. That's right. C-Rod put a momentary stop on the Rosas Jr. train, although Rosas Jr. has hopped back in the win column emphatically lately. We're going to see if Christian Rodriguez is going to keep rolling, this time against another prospect. This guy is no joke. Cameron Saaiman, the 22-year-old prospect out of Pretoria, South Africa. He is undefeated at 9-0 thus far as a professional, with 7 finishes, 6 of them knockouts. He is now 3-0 in the UFC after winning on Contender Series, most recently TKOing Terrence Mitchell back in July. Mark, start us off. Give us those odds, your take, and your pick for this fight.
Who do you guys think is favored?
Saaiman.
I would also think Saaiman.
I would have also thought Saaiman, and he is not.
C-Rod.
I'm pretty surprised. C-Rod is minus 150, and Cameron Saaiman is the dog at plus 125. So, I don't know. I thought those odds would have honestly been flipped. Like, that's the closeness I expected. I just thought it would be the exact other way. I feel like Saaiman is getting slept on a little bit. He is 1 inch taller. There is going to be a 4-inch reach advantage for C-Rod, so that could be a factor. But this is an awesome fight. You know, both of these kids have looked fantastic thus far. And Christian Rodriguez is very talented. And I guess I could see why he's the favorite, but I mean, we haven't seen that much of him yet. But from what I've seen, I don't think he is what Cameron Saaiman is thus far. I trust the well-roundedness of Saaiman. to be the difference in this fight. I think he's the one that can find more avenues to victory, the one that can adjust if a certain part of the fight is not going his way. I specifically think his ground game may be what ends up being able to be the differentiator here, and I'm going to trust him to get this done. So I'm going to go Cameron Saaiman UD.
Omar.
I also trust the grappling pedigree of Saaiman. C-Rod had a good performance in his last fight. And I think he took advantage, which he should have, against Raul Rosas, just because he came in, was fresh, is new. I think he got a little nervous or whatever. My point is, he showed out against an opponent that gave him the opportunity to do so, and I don't think Saaiman's going to give him that opportunity. I think he's going to be a lot tougher to get out of there, and I think he will be. I personally think Saaiman is going to be a lot better than C-Rod is, and I think this is going to be his opportunity to show it. Hopefully, he finishes the fight. He doesn't go to decision very often, but he definitely has in the UFC. So I'm going to go with Cameron Saaiman by second round KO. He's going to fuck around and find out, that guy.
Guys, this is a personal one for me. I got to roll with Team Pettis here. I'm taking C-Rod by UD, handing Cameron Saaiman his first professional loss. Cool. All right, moving on to the middleweight division. Excuse me, Michel Pereira moving up. Michel Pereira taking on Andre Petroski. So Pereira, the Demolidor, the 30-year-old out of Brazil, 28-11 as a professional, with 17 finishes, 10 of them knockouts. He is riding a 5-fight UFC win streak coming into this weekend. Most recently, scoring a split decision victory over the very tough Santiago Ponzinibbio back in May of 2022. Andre Petroski, his opponent, is the 32-year-old out of Springfield, Pennsylvania. He is 10-1 as a pro with 8 finishes, also riding a 5-fight win streak. Most recently, a split decision victory over Gerald Mearshart back in August. Omar, start us off.
Omar, you muted, dude.
I know we had Andre Petroski here as a short notice replacement, but I actually think this is a pretty fun fight against Michel Pereira. It'll be a nice test to see where Petroski is in his career. He's had a couple of decision losses, a couple of close fights. I think this has a potential of being a close fight, but Pereira is so crazy, and is definitely going to be looking for more opportunities to finish, I think, than Petroski will be. Probably won't get it, but he's going to be looking for him. So I'm going to go with Pereira here. I think it's going to go the full 5 minutes, regardless of what either one of them want to do.
The full 5, huh? They're only going.
I'm
one
sorry,
round
three. Goddamn, fucking everything is 5 for me now. They should be going the full 3, I think. But I think Pereira will come out on top here. So give me Pereira by decision.
Okay. Mark.
All right, Pereira is the favorite here. He is minus 190 despite moving up in weight. What word do I want to say? The always middleweight. It's not a great word, but Andre Petroski is plus 150 as the dog. Established middleweight, that would have been better. 1 inch of height for Pereira. The reach is actually the same. And I am very, very torn on this fight. For one thing, I'm not entirely sold on Andre Petroski as of yet. There's a lot about him that's interesting, but part of me feels like he has a skill set that gets exposed when he hits a certain level here. But on the flip side, Pereira moving up to 185, his normal size advantage is out the window, and he's fighting the exact style that he has struggled with in the past in Petroski. Like, do we see him struggle even more now against a bigger, stronger man? Because he is a guy who has been out-grappled by Tristan Connolly and Diego Sanchez, like, not all that long ago. I know he's made a lot of improvements, but Petroski's a much bigger dude than those dudes are.
Yep.
So it's very hard to call. I think that Petroski by decision or even sub is about as likely as Pereira by KO. But I think I'm leaning to say that Andre Petroski survives some hairy spots and wins a UD, but if Pereira's cardio is 100% fine, though, then that pick may end up looking very dumb because Petroski may get hurt. Fuck, I might go Pereira. Man, I'm so torn on this fucking fight. Fuck it, I'll trust Michel Pereira's cardio, and I'll probably hate myself for it. Round 2, TKO for Michel Pereira.
Omar, who did you take?
I took Pereira as well.
I will play the upset here, and I will say Andre Petroski gets it done by UD. Pereira doesn't look like as much of a monster moving up to middleweight, and I think that Petroski comes away with the UD over Pereira.
I probably just gave Mike another one with my last-minute switch right there.
Damn it, Mark. Dude, I love Pereira. I hope he wins.
I just,
always,
it
I root for him.
flashed in my head like his fucking training from that build-up to Wonder Boy where I was like, man, this guy's looking like a beast. And I was like, he's got to be ready to go to push a full 15, right? Like, right?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay, here we go. Fun one. Jonathan Martinez taking on Adrian Yanez. So Martinez, the Dragon, the 29-year-old out of Plainview, Texas, 18-4 as a pro with 10 finishes, riding a 5-fight win streak coming into this Saturday. Most recently, decisioning Said Nurmagomedov back in March. Adrian Yanez, the 29-year-old out of La Porte, Texas, 16-4 as a pro, 12 finishes, looking to get back in the win column after getting finished for the first time in his career by Mr. Rob Font. Omar, your eyes, bro. I glance at Omar and I like lose my shit.
Why? Because he's fucking falling asleep?
He's fucking
Just
struggling.
ruining our show every single week lately.
I'm dying.
Drink some Ovaltine and get it together.
Ovaltine's not going to help, dog.
Okay, Omar, talk, speak, give a pick. Tell us why you're picking Yanez.
Because Yanez is that boy. I like Yanez, obviously, right? But this is a tough fight. You know, there's no getting around it. Martinez is a tough out, I think, at all times. We just saw Yanez get lit up recently, so we know that he is fallible. He can fuck up in there. And Martinez is not the one to fuck up with, right? Martinez's leg kicks are disgusting. They're definitely going to damage him if Yanez takes too many of them. We haven't really seen Yanez deal, I think, too much with guys who spam leg kicks all too often. So I think we're going to see that against Jonathan Martinez here. But I'm rolling with my boy, man. For better or worse, I think it'll be a close fight, to be honest. I think both of them have the ability to really fuck each other up, if we're being wholly honest. But I'm going to go with Yanez here. I don't think that they come out of 3 rounds. I think somebody's going to get slept or something somewhere along the way here. So I will go second round TKO Adrian Yanez.
Mark.
Who thinks favorite in this one?
Probably
Yanez.
Martinez. Yanez just got
probably
knocked
Martinez.
out.
He's got the win streak.
It's very close. Martinez is the favorite. He is minus 120.
Yeah.
Yanez is also minus. He is minus 105.
Oh,
Yeah.
no plus money.
Nope. So nearly a pick 'em.
Don't touch
Martinez, the slight favorite. You're paying the vig on either guy. 1 inch of height for Martinez, half inch of reach for Yanez. So basically, they're the same exact size. Both of these dudes are nasty, nasty strikers, but they go about it in very different ways. Jonathan Martinez is extremely kick heavy. He will rely on his kicks more than he will rely on his hands. Adrian Yanez is the exact opposite. Beautiful boxer, won't kick much. His Achilles heel has been that he does get hit a bit too much. You would hope he's worked on that after being exposed for it against Rob Font the way that he was. But also I think it helps a bit that it's his head that sometimes he is leaving out there, and Martinez isn't necessarily, while he'll throw a head kick, he's looking more toward the body and the legs for the majority of his shots. But I also think the matchup, the skill sets favor Adrian Yanez because I think his movement is enough that Martinez won't be able to just dictate this fight with the leg kicks or with a clinch like he did late against Nurmagomedov. And I think Yanez will be able to find angles to get inside. And when he does, I think he can hurt Martinez. I think he is the much better boxer and that there are openings to be had as long as you can get through that initial fire of the leg kicks. And I think that Yanez is good enough at cutting angles and finding entries to get inside and find his shot. So I will say Adrian Yanez, round 2 knockout.
Omar. Oh, no. Omar went. I'm so sorry. Tough fight, man. Tough fight to pick. This is a great piece of matchmaking, I will say. These two guys, at this time in their careers, they're same age. They're both almost the same exact height and size. Almost an identical record. Almost an identical number of finishes. Just fantastic stuff. Mark laid out their stylistic differences brilliantly. But, guys, this is an Adrian Yanez podcast. And we pick Adrian Yanez like ride or die, man. So I'll go Yanez to hand Martinez his second TKO loss of his career. Let's go. I'll say round 3. Okay. Is this the co-main? Yeah. Co-main events in the women's flyweight division. Jennifer Maia taking on Viviane Araújo. So Maia, the 35-year-old out of Curitiba, Brazil, 21-9 with 1 draw, 9 finishes, back-to-back wins coming into this weekend. Araújo, 36-year-old, also, of course, Brasileiros, or I should say Brasileiras, 11-5 with 7 finishes. Very much looking to get back in the win column after losing her last 2 fights to Alexa Grasso and Amanda Ribas. She also has lost 3 of her last 4. Omar, start us off once again. Give us your pick. Araújo versus Maia.
I actually have a little bit of a tough time picking this fight, if we're being honest. I think both of these women come to scrap. I think the biggest difference might be the athleticism, kind of very similar to the Morono
Buckley
situation. I think Araújo is just a lot more athletic. I think they both got very good fight IQs in there. They both know how to throw hands. I think Araújo probably has a bit of a slight advantage in the power department in that sense. But I think both of these are very smart women in the cage, so it's very difficult to pick one over the other. I think I'm going to go Jennifer Maia, man. I think I'm going to go Jennifer Maia here. I don't know. I basically flipped the coin in my head. I like I said, I think it's a very close fight. I think either one of these women have the ability to beat each other. But I think Jennifer Maia is going to come out on top. So give me Jennifer Maia by unanimous decision.
I feel like you laid out why you were picking Araújo and then you picked Maia.
It's not the first time it's happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is an interesting fight, but I'm going to go with Jennifer Maia. I think she's a bit more the veteran in there, and I think she walks away with the UD. I don't have much else to say about that. Mark?
She is the favorite. She's minus 160. Araújo's plus 130, so pretty close. Height's the same. Araújo has a 4-inch reach advantage, which could be a factor with the power that she throws, so we'll see about that. It is a tough one to call. I've never been completely sold on either one of these girls, which seems kind of dumb to say considering they've both perennially been top 10, especially Maia. But I'm just never completely confident in either one of them going into a fight if I have picked them. But I think I got to go Maia here. Her grappling is plenty good enough that Araújo shouldn't find any big advantage there. And yes, Araújo hits with more power, but I think Maia scores more and is just generally better at winning fights and has the crisper boxing. So I'm going to trust that veteran fight winning ability of Maia and say she takes a UD.
Okay, main event time. UFC Fight Night. Barboza versus Yusuff. Yusuff versus Barboza. Going down in the featherweight division. Sodiq Yusuff. Super Sodiq. The 30-year-old fighting out of Camp Springs, Maryland. He is 13-3 as a pro with 7 finishes. 6 of them knockouts. Coming off back-to-back wins. Coming into this weekend. Hasn't fought in just over a year. And he'll be standing across from the fighting legend himself, Edson Barboza, the 37-year-old out of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He is 23-11 as a pro with 15 finishes in the cage, 14 of them knockouts. He got back in the win column back in April by knocking out Billy Quarantillo in April of this year. I will pick first in a rare move without hearing the odds. Let me say that I also like doing this. I like guessing. I have to guess that Sodiq is the favorite here, just given his record. He's coming off back-to-back wins. I'll guess that Sodiq is the favorite. I'll say he's like a 200 favorite, minus 200 favorite.
Little tighter than that. He's minus 165.
Oh, that's tighter. I'm going to go with the legend Edson Barboza. I said to you guys today on chat that I've just always been a fan of this guy. He seems like such a good guy to train as hard as he does, having young kids and a family, having young kids myself, to get anything done with young kids, to fucking take a shower and tie your shoes with young kids. God bless you. But no, I've always been a fan of this guy. Some of the best striking, some of the best Muay Thai, Omar, that you will ever see. Am I correct? Thank you. So I'm going to go with Edson Barboza. As for the method, I think it's going to be I'm going to think it's going to be a war. I hope it is. I hope it's a great fight. And I see Barboza coming away with his hand raised. Give me Edson Barboza notching another big name of his on his record as a win by decision. Omar, why don't you go? Just do it, buddy. Put you out of your misery. And just log off right away.
I do love Edson Barboza here, man. As far as his Muay Thai is concerned, one of the things I've always loved about Edson, even from years past, more so than the wheel kick, is his switch kick. His switch lead kick is disgusting. It's fast. It's horizontal. It's got power behind it. It's got hip rotation behind it. It's like probably one of the most perfect kicks I've ever seen. The way, to me, that Joe Rogan probably has a spinning back kick to the body on lock, probably one of the best iterations of that kick I've ever seen is thrown by Joe Rogan. This is the same way I feel about the lead switch kick in Edson Barboza. I mean, that's, as far as I'm concerned, that might as well just be his kick at this point. Like, that's just how you do the kick. Anyway, I think the fight's super interesting, man. I think Sodiq Yusuff presents a lot of problems for Barboza, right? I think Barboza gets into a habit sometimes of trying to stay on the outside, especially with his length, trying to throw things from an outside position. But when he gets crowded, a lot of times he ends up on the cage, and a lot of times he can lose a fight trying to stay away and not trying to fight, where he sometimes gets forced to fight. And I think Yusuff is going to want to close the distance quite a bit in this fight. I don't think he's going to want to play at range with Barboza for too long, though I expect him to probably a little bit. So I'm hoping Barboza has seen those opportunities, but I have no intention of picking against Barboza. So I will go with Barboza here, round 3 KO.
Wow. 2 guys on the dog. So, yeah, Yusuff is minus 165, as I said. Edson is plus 140. There are 2 inches of height and 4 inches of reach on the side of Edson Barboza here, so that is not negligible. He's 37 years old, which, Mike, I don't know if you knew that before you made your pick. Almost 38 as a featherweight. And I, too, do not care. I will not get off the Edson Barboza train until I am absolutely forced off of it. Sodiq is really good and really poised, and if this goes to a decision, there's a strong chance that it goes his way. But he is going to be willing to strike with Edson Barboza. That's what this fight is going to be. And I just don't know if I believe that his striking is dynamic enough, as successful as he is with it, to not eventually get hurt by Edson Barboza across 25 minutes. I still think Edson is good enough and fast enough to find an opening as this fight goes on. Plus, he's the bigger man in general and has that height and reach to lean on, as I was just saying. So I could see Sadiq winning this fight, maybe through 10 or so minutes. And then in round 3 or 4, something like that, Edson finds something. I just think he'll look for weaknesses in the defense as the fight goes on, get Sadiq's timing down, and I'll say he lands a body shot in the third, swarms, and puts Sadiq out. So Edson Barboza, round 3, TKO.
I thought you were going to take Sadiq.
No, sir.
I'm trying to help you out, man.
We don't do that here.
Real quick, just looking at Barboza's record. If you look at his record over the past few years, it looks like he's been so up and down, and it is not great. There's quite a bit of red on the record. But just looking at those, okay, he lost to Khabib in 2017, and that's understandable because it's Khabib, and Khabib is like the uber wrestler, and Khabib's going to do to a striker like Barboza what he's going to do. Then he got TKO by Kevin Lee. I'll consider that a little bit more of a. I mean, Kevin Lee in 2018 was really more prime Kevin Lee.
Yeah,
he got bested.
It was the wrestling then too.
Yeah, he got bested by Justin Gaethje by a knockout in 2 minutes. Then he loses 2 splits to Felder and Dan Ige. Those are both. I remember both very close fights.
Yeah, you could argue he won them both.
The only guys to really defeat him with striking were Gaethje in 2019 and Giga more recently in 2021. And what you mentioned, like, does Sadiq have dynamic enough striking? Giga definitely is a guy who you would think of who's going to compete with Barboza. And then he lost to Bryce because Bryce is, again, he's like the American Khabib. So, yeah, I mean, your assessment of, like, Sadiq is going to, A, want to stand with Barboza, but B, is he dynamic enough of a striker to hang with Barboza?
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point. As much as, we're all picking Barboza here, but if he's fighting a wrestler, we probably aren't. But even at 37 years old, to pick a striker to beat Edson Barboza, you got to believe that striker is pretty damn good. And I don't know that I'm there yet with Sadiq. And maybe we're going to realize on Saturday that we should be. But I'll ride Barboza once more.
Okay.
Nice choice of words.
Let's end with a little bit of Edson Barboza trivia. Here we go. This is going to be a fill in the blank. Let's see who can name all 3. Edson Barboza is tied for first place for most fight night bonuses. Edson Barboza has earned himself 8 fight night bonuses, and he is in first place, tied in first with 3 other gentlemen.
Oh, when you're saying fight night bonuses, you're meaning from fight night cards, like not counting pay-per-view cards. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know.
Well, then you got.
I'm sorry, not fight night. Fight of the night bonuses.
Oh, that's what I thought you meant at first. Okay, so he has 8 fight of the night bonuses.
8 fight of the night bonuses.
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
There are 3 other guys who are tied at first with Barboza. One of them is still active. 2 of them are no longer in the UFC.
So this doesn't count. This isn't performance bonuses. This is purely fight of the night.
Yes.
Gaethje is one of them.
See, I don't think it is.
Take a minute. Take out an index card.
Fight of the night.
Write it down.
Like, has he had enough fight of the nights?
Oh,
I know
he's had right. Like he has a
fights
lot of
of the
performance
nights.
bonuses.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say Cowboy, but again, like
Same
I'm trying
thing,
to think how many of his were because of like the finish, because of the knockout, or maybe Jim Miller. Maybe his are a lot of fight of the nights. Because he's been in some fucking scraps.
Maybe Robbie Lawler.
That ain't a bad one. But 8 was he spent some time out of the UFC. I'm going to say the active one is Jim Miller.
I'm probably going to hop on that bandwagon, too. I'm having some real trouble here.
And what did you say? There's two that are retired?
Yes.
I think the second one's wrong, but I'll say Jim Miller, Cowboy, and Diego.
Diego is in my head, too, actually.
I don't think that's right. I just can't think of another one.
Omar, would you like to round yours out? So you also say Jim Miller?
Yeah, Jim Miller. I guess I'll go Diego Sanchez, too, because I did have that in one in my head. Third one. I don't know. I'll just stick with those two. I'm fucking shooting blind anyway.
So Jim Miller and Diego both are one notch lower. They each are tied at tied at fifth with 4 guys. A 4-way tie with 7 fight of the night bonuses.
Damn.
So very, very good guesses. And Gaethje has 7 as well.
Why, he has 7 fight of the
wow.
nights? Jeez. How does he have that many fucking fight of the nights? I feel like
The
he knocks
four-way-
dudes out.
He's gotten a performance bonus of some kind in just about every fight he's been in since he's joined
I know,
the
but I
UFC.
feel like
Because
so
that's how
many
he
are
fights,
just
man.
finishes.
It's fucking dynamite.
He's got,
guess
what,
you're right. I
12?
guess they're so fun.
What has he got, like 12 fights in the UFC or some shit?
Yeah.
Like he's,
Okay.
he's got work.
Let me tell you. So the 4-way tie for first place with all 4 of these guys have gotten 8 fight of the night bonuses are Nate Diaz, Edson Barboza, Dustin Poirier, and Frankie Edgar.
Oh, Frankie was a damn. Yeah, he didn't come in my head.
Yeah, me
Okay,
neither.
I'll
Now
make you
say it
guys-
out loud though.
Yeah.
Hopefully this will make you feel a little bit better. Let's do one more for Edson. Edson Barboza stands alone at number 4 all time at this point in time for most career knockdowns with 15. Edson Barboza has scored 15 official career knockdowns. This is also just in the UFC, remember. Who are the 3 men who sit above him?
This is supposed to make me feel better.
I feel like you guys will get this one. 3 guys.
It's different when you're looking at the answers and we're out in the blue with fucking 1,000 choices.
That's true. That's true.
Anderson is one of my guesses.
Say the question one more time, Mike.
Knockdowns, most knockdowns ever.
Yeah.
Edson
Edson Barboza
15,
has
3 guys ahead of
15,
him.
15 career knockdowns, and he sits at number 4 by himself. There is a 2-way tie for the 2 spot, and somebody who sits alone at number 1. So all 3 of these guys we know have more than 15.
I'm gonna go with McGregor.
I feel like Izzy has a lot of knockdowns, but I don't think that's going to be my guess.
So Mark has already said Anderson. Omar?
Yeah.
Yeah, McGregor is the one I'm going with.
We got to guess 3 guys, though, you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Try to guess
yeah.
all 3. Try to guess all 3. Do you want me to name like all 10 top 10 and you can determine who's top 3?
What if you gave us the weight classes of the top 3?
Sure.
Because I have so many guys in my head, I don't know how to narrow who I want to guess.
So all 3 of these guys have fought in more than one weight class. So
it ain't Chuck then, because I was considering Chuck.
very good. Wow. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There is your MMA purist for you right there.
It wasn't
So one of the guys has fought at lightweight and featherweight. One of the guys has fought at light heavyweight and middleweight. And one of the guys has fought at welterweight and lightweight.
So I'm sticking with Anderson as my light heavyweight and middleweight. What was the other one? Welterweight and lightweight, you said? And then
Yes.
lightweight and featherweight.
Correct.
Could it be Cowboy? Does he have to have any fucking knockdowns?
It's very possible.
I mean, he's fought at all 3 of those fucking weight classes. Wait, no, he hasn't. Sorry, he never fought a featherweight. What am I saying?
I don't know, bud. My
Almost
shit is
like-
not working, my guy.
I'm still thinking. Sure, I'll go Cowboy as a guess. I already guessed him wrong.
Give me
on the
one
other
more,
one.
buddy.
And my other guess, I sort of want to say Max just because of how many fights he's been in, but I don't
Dog,
think he
I've-
knocks dudes down like that.
I've had that thought myself, actually. It was also Max Holloway.
Could it be Poirier?
I feel like Poirier's not somebody I see knock down all the time.
I'm gonna say, yeah, those be my guesses. Anderson, Cowboy, Poirier.
You got 2 out of 3, buddy.
Fuck. It's not Poirier.
In first place with 20 knockdowns is Donald Cowboy Cerrone.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
The two guys tied for second place. The two guys tied for second place, most career knockdowns in the UFC, tied with 18 knockdowns each, are Anderson, the Spider Silva, and Jeremy Little Heathen Stevens.
That's such a curveball, but
That's
yeah.
so wild.
It is.
It makes so much sense when you hear it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell has 14. It's a 5-way tie of 5 different guys have 14 career knockdowns. Liddell, Shogun, Machida, JDS, and Thiago Santos.
Yeah, the Stevens one's so tough because you're thinking of like elite fighters at these weight classes, and he's not really coming into your head. But then as soon as you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Yeah, man. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of knockdowns for that man.
All
Very
right, that
good.
does it. Fun one. Okay, boys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Enjoy this fight night card this weekend. Is another nice one, and we will reconvene next week, gentlemen. Any parting shots?
That's it. Can't wait to hit my bed.
Omar needs to go to sleep. We need to end this
I'm
thing.
right there with you. All right, guys. Talk soon.
Peace. Oh, nice in unison for you guys.
You got the confetti again.